Super. So, hello everybody. Welcome to the third day of Uroboros Festival. My name is Michal, and I'm very happy to introduce today a workshop, which will be hosted by Karin and Jakub. Especially, it will be hosted by Hermetechnics Incorporated, which is an imaginary Silicon Valley corporation with a mission to download ancient knowledge from cloud itself. Hermetechnics was established as a critical investigation into techno-occultism, Silicon Valley startup culture, and the role of esoteric tradition in surveillance capitalist society. Jakub Fala is Berlin-based artist and creative technologies from Slovakia, and Karin Valičko is programmer, artist, and musician, also from Slovakia. She studied artificial intelligence and she focused on natural language processing. So I think that's it from me. Guys, just please keep your microphone muted so we will not disturb them during the presentation. And guys, floor is yours. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Hey, welcome. Welcome to the workshop on Oracles for Troubling Times. We are Hermetechnics Incorporated. We are an exciting new Silicon Valley corporation. And as Michal already said, our mission is to retrieve ancient knowledge from the cloud itself and use magic to create value for our shareholders. We are a group of techies founded in 2013. We just want to make the world a better place. And we want to do it by harnessing the ancient wisdom of the occult and deploying it to the cloud.
So for today's workshop, we are going to introduce you to the traditions and principles of divination around the world to build some solid foundation for the creative part. We are going to look at the changes of the role of the divination and what place it takes in a society now and in the art, and introduce divination-related projects at Hermetechnics and how to proceed with development of new models for this workshop. And then we divide into our esoteric research groups. You will use what you learn during the talk to devise your own divination techniques. And at the end, each group will present their design documented in a collaborative project on divination we're going to create in Miro.
So a divination system is, strictly speaking, a well-designed tool for making sense of the world. The boundary of what defines divination is somewhat blurred. For many, divination is associated with magic in the kind of intellectual, esoteric sense. But when we look at how most ordinary practitioners think about divination, we often find a very pragmatic mindset. Fundamentally, divination is a way of answering questions. It can, of course, be understood in esoteric terms, but its practical use is much more interesting and relevant when trying to understand it. So here we see a painting of a divination practice known as palm reading. And in the painting, we can find the three main stakeholders in an act of divination. So we see the querent, who is the one who asks the question. They may or may not actively participate in the process, and they are often asked to focus their mind on the question that is at stake. We have the medium, which is the thing, event, or the person which delivers the answer. And optionally, there is the reader. This is a person who interprets the result of the divinatory act for the querent.
So now we looked at the divination from the stakeholders' perspective, and it's time to look at the inner mechanism. So on the left, you can see the well-known magic formula of Hermeticism, as above, so below. This can be paraphrased in many ways, as within, so without, as the universe, so the soul. Basically, in this formula, the macrocosm is being reflected in microcosm. So this points to the inner experience, shaping the perception of the outer reality, and also the opposite way around, the circumstances shaping the character of a person. So what does this mean for a divination? If macrocosm is the whole universe we observe, the human life and experience, let's say all the external conditions, then the divination system should serve as the microcosm, the reflection of the universe, creating a full library that is able to represent the universe. So just as the letters in the alphabet are able to construct every word in a certain language, so the divination interpretations should reflect and aims at reflecting the full human experience. So note that not all the divination systems are necessarily considered complete from this perspective, but it's a sign of a mature technique. And now let's take a look at several divination systems. One of the very simple approaches is when we actively participate in manipulating what we observe. So, for example, you might heard of traditions as Bleigießen or lead pouring or any other substance like wax pouring. And this is practiced usually in parts of Central Europe or Germany, and often during New Year and winter festivities. In this practice, a molten lead is quickly poured into water, which causes it to solidify in an abstract shape. There are many unpredictable factors like the amount of lead, temperature, pouring motion, and all these conditions give rise to a unique shape, which is largely unpredictable. And the practice has a generative and emergent aspect to it, and the participant is also an active component by the act of pouring the liquid. And the rules on the interpretation of what the reading is out of this abstract shape is usually a list of mappings, which can vary according to different folk traditions or are based on just on simple outer appearance. For example, if we see an ear, it can mean one should not be too curious in the next year.
Right. So moving away from observation, we ought to look at a class of divination systems which rely on some kind of mathematics. These can loosely be grouped under the name numerological divination, but it's worth emphasizing they don't always follow the rules of Western numerology, which is heavily centered on decimal numbers and the Judeo-Christian number symbolism. A number of numerological systems are found in Western Africa. Ifa and Bamana are two systems which both use iteration and recursion to manipulate a randomly selected starting point. These examples were taken from Stephanie Morin's talk, Coding the Digital Occult. And here in Bamana, lines are drawn randomly in the sand and gradually transformed into symbols. There are 16 possible symbols that can arise in Bamana. The mappings between the symbols and their meaning is again carried by oral tradition, just like in Bleigießen. And they represent general concepts such as desire or travel. So their combinations can then be used to provide more complex and specific answers. The practices were observed, where the observed medium is the ground, are also called geomancy. So this is a term that you might find around.
So now let's look at a similar system, also numeric, but kind of on steroids. I Ching is a very important divination method, which sparked a lot of interest in the Western counterculture circles. So it comes from the ancient China, roughly 3,000 years back, and its rules are defined in the Book of Changes. It relies on the concept of yin and yang in Taoist traditions, represented by broken or unbroken lines. 6 of these lines give rise to a hexagram, which carries a certain archetypal meaning to it. The hexagram is usually formed by tossing 3 coins 6 times, and different combinations of head and tail give rise to broken, unbroken, or changing lines. And these changing lines indicate dynamic nature, changing from solid to broken, and this allows more nuanced interpretations and putting the hexagrams in some sort of greater perspective. The gravitation of this technique can be seen in the fact that Western fringe culture is saturated with various references to it. This is a brilliant I Ching tutorial, which was distributed with 1989 MS-DOS game called The Windwalker. And the hexagram descriptions are usually very poetic. You can find different level of details in various publications, various translations. They contain a whole baggage of symbolism, pictures, associations, and other aid material. The system is very complex and rather abstract, and thus these interpretations are rather timeless, and they are still relevant for the 21st century reader, even though the book is 3,000 years old. So I Ching is also an object of mathematical fascination. The broken and unbroken lines make I Ching essentially a binary system. And in fact, it's rumored that Leibniz, who introduced binary computation into Western mathematics, was inspired by I Ching to experiment with binary numbers. So the interesting point to mention is the existence of so-called King-Wen sequence, which is the original ancient arrangement of the hexagram in a certain fixed order. One of the possible interpretation of the sequence comes from Terence McKenna time wave 0. It was his computational simulation based on a pseudoscientific theory of novelty. And in his own words, let's see what he has to say. I click here, right?
No, yeah. Yeah, just press it again.
Yeah.
My conclusions looking at the I Ching have been that it is not possible to know the future. For if it were possible to know it, life would be a determinism and thinking would be divorced from meaning, and we would be out of business. But what is possible to know about the future is levels of novelty which future states will fulfill by the happenstance of unpredictable events. Now, this is a formal way of saying we know where the road goes, but we don't know what the scenery looks like. I think where the future is...
Oh, that was cut off a bit abruptly.
Yeah, well, but sorry. So we can see that I Ching was very, very important in 60s counterculture. And like McKenna, we can also find examples in the writings of Philip K. Dick, who was using I Ching to decide a plot twist and narrative through the story of the main man in the High Castle, which was his Hugo Award-winning novel. I highly recommend that one. Hermann Hesse used I Ching in his Glass Bead game, and John Cage composed a piece for solo piano called The Music of Changes, when he directed the changes in composition by I Ching hexagrams. I think we've got the chat window across our presentation.
Well, you don't actually, you can just click here and then you can, this is my screen, right?
Oh, okay.
You want to see the whole thing?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on. Staying with the archetypes, let's jump to another divination system, which is based heavily on symbolism, which is tarot. The origins of tarot as a divination tool is quite unclear. It is thought to have originated as playing cards, and first mentions of it as an esoteric tool appears in the 17th century. It's essentially a collection of 17 cards divided into two main groups. There are 4 suits, ace to 10 and court cards, page, knight, queen, and king, which are similar to playing cards, which are called the minor arcana. And the remaining 22 cards, the main part, is the major arcana. These cards display allegorical characters surrounded by very rich symbolism. So tarot is suffering from a lot of New Age confusion, but originally the major arcana describes the journey of the fool, which is the very first card. You can see it on the picture as well. And his journey through his life lessons and all the way into the enlightenment. So this is tightly bound to the spiritual teachings of mystical Kabbalah and the Tree of Life, and could be used as some sort of process of getting to enlightenment as well. So regarding the use, you are probably familiar with the procedure. There are many different types of card spreads. Choice of the right spread is determined by the nature of the question. The reading itself consists of shuffling and shuffling the cards, cutting the deck, placing them on a table in front of you, and then the interpretation of the cards, their meanings, and their relation and connection to the problem you are trying to address. So there are many different ways how to look at this complex system of tarot. Importance is attributed to the numerological view, like ordering of the cards, the visual aspect, like colors of the background, shapes, etc., and symbolical, like the mythological figures and symbols present on the card. So, for example, we have 4 suits. The Pentacles, first card, which are earthly and material, and refer mostly to earthly matters like work, money, and physical possessions. The next suit is that of cups, which refers to the emotional and imagination layer of human experience. So could be emotional aspect of relationships. The next one are swords, which are basically intelligence. So this refers to intellectual approach to problems and basically rationality. And the last one are wands, which represent sexual creative energy and all the problems connected with self-realization and life goals and this like highest realm of human experience. So numbers have meanings as well. And I took a number 5 as an example, which is considered as a number of severity or conflict. So here you can see the generative nature of the suits. So with the pentacles, which deal with earthly matters, and number 5, which means conflicts, we got a card which means poverty. In cups, this combination corresponds to emotion like regret or sadness. For the swords, this means some intellectual disagreement. This guy is disagreeing with all the others on the picture. And in number 5 and wands, we can see some sort of comparing of the sticks, which is like some sort of conflict, clashing of personalities, of egos in some higher creative endeavor. And similar parallels run throughout the whole deck. And we can see some sort of generative nature of this microcosm.
It takes a while.
Okay. Of course, there is a plenty of use of tarot in experimental culture, and it's often admired as a great composition tool. It's great to explore the interplay between the archetypes in order to gain some creative momentum. We can use basically cards as a lab for thinking about the world.
So we've discussed a lot of these traditional divination systems, and it must be noted that while divination techniques such as the tarot are pervasive in Western culture, they were historically never part of the mainstream and were rejected and persecuted by the Christian establishment. Their rejection wasn't simply based on some kind of scientific reasoning or religious conviction. The tarot, for instance, has always been the domain of women, and specifically women of Romani or non-white origin, especially we're talking about the Central European context here, or also working class people. The same applies to many other divination methods, such as lead pouring and tasseomancy, which is reading from coffee grounds. And so with access to information, public discourse, and decision-making disproportionately concentrated in the hands of men and ethnic majorities, these practices, such as divination, became a way of making sense of the world for the underprivileged. So incorporating these principles into the capitalist realist technological consensus of our time can be understood as a way of sort of subverting the dominance of patriarchal structures, and that's fine, but it has to be done while acknowledging the heroism of women, people of color, the poor, and the madmen who held on to those traditions despite rejection and persecution.
So to sum up what we've heard in the previous slides, let's pinpoint the essential components of the divination practice. So first, we would be asking, how is the system conducive to the unexpected outcomes? Where is the place for change, the randomness, or the probability to take course in the process? So we can base the system on some sort of random event, like tossing a toy in or scribbling lines in a sand. Or we can believe in some sort of concept of synchronicity, when we capture a state and sample the state of a complex phenomenon in order to get some insight. Or we can also use some cut-ups, plan movements, traffic, whatever allows for some randomness to enter the process. So this is basically the black box where the oracle is sitting in our system. The next part would be the ritual, the whole process of how do we communicate and interact with the system? How do we format our question, our intent? What kind of audio, visual symbols, spoken word, physical activity, movement, or cooperation with the whole system do we deploy? We may take an active role to be someone doing the prayer or asking the oracle actively, or we can just simply observe the phenomenon. And so this is basically the ritual of asking the question. And the last important part would be the part of interpreting the answer. So how do we infer the set of rules for, let's say, interpreting the shapes given by the oracle? How do we interpret them based on some simple audiovisual similitude, like shapes in lead pouring, which resembles ear, right? Or just a way how we get to the wisdom hidden by revealed by the reading. So that would be on the interpretation. And now let's look at the divination from the perspective of contemporary world. The scientific advancement got us to a point when we no longer need to consult the oracle for the treatment of tuberculosis. But there are still areas of life where asking question to an oracle might be of use because we can't really use the rational brain. For example, in artistic creation, or when making arbitrary decisions, whether to go to party A or to party B. Hence, the divination can in some way reduce the existential anxiety in so many choices we have to make in areas where we have little or no knowledge of. It's also a great guide for an exploration, helping you to choose whether to take train to Jaipur or Delhi when you're trying to find yourself when you're traveling across the India. Or it can help you shake up the routine and your fixed patterns, just basically open your mind. And most importantly, it can be used as a tool for increasing the compassion or sort of understanding of other people, other situations through putting your thinking into a fixed paradigm imposed by the constraints of the divination system. So basically, the cards make you to look at a problem from a certain perspective, which can be very enriching.
So continuing on to the 20th century and the contemporary use of divination, we see a lot of artists who have adopted divinational principles when devising revolutionary ways of making art. The French surrealists, of whom the most notable was André Breton, based their manifesto on something they called pure psychic automatism. And automatism refers to a technique of creation where the artist gives up part of their control over the work, leaving the process to chance. The work then consists of a ritual, a set of initial constraints, or an algorithm, and a result of applying the ritual to some kind of stochastic reality. Eventually, interesting artistic results emerge from the ritual, leaving their interpretation to the spectators. The surrealists began applying such principles in drawing, writing, and also in performative walking, which resulted in a number of mythical and ultimately ridiculous journeys undertaken by Breton, Aragon, and other surrealists in the 1920s. And this brings us to the Situationists movement of Guy Debord and others. They established the Situationist International, and they were applying the principles of emergence to a socio-political framework. The Situationist medium of choice was the city, with its never-ending complex processes, random encounters, and endless potential for exploration. The Situationist seeks to escape the oppression of capitalist life through the ritual of walking. They generate chance encounters by moving aimlessly through the overlooked liminal places in the city. And they use these chance encounters to see a different reality and ultimately find answers to questions that cannot be answered in the ordinary reality.
So I have to admit I couldn't help but to include Boros in this presentation, who's my favorite explorer of psychic areas. In the novels like The Cities of Red Night and Wild Boys, you can see the aspect of Boros' writing I want to talk about. So he was researcher into the cut up and fold up techniques and written up a lot of his creative output into the book called The Third Mind. He suggested to create the cut ups from, let's say, one page of from your diary, one page from the current news, the book you're currently reading, the letters you're sending out, cut it up, mix it well, and that way randomly sample the reality. This might help to shed certain bias imposed by your own individual brain and see sort of in between the lines, allowing the process of allowing us to access the information in some nonlinear way. So ever tried, for example, circle out words out of political speech at random, and you might get a better idea what's the real feel of the talk, rather than some sort of clever rhetorical structures which are being built by the politician. So, and exactly this permutation and juxtaposition of like various material could reveal a content present within your own unconscious mind, and also the sort of collective consciousness which you are sampling. And this way, disassembling the rationality can be used in sort of divinatory process. I'm following up with one of the most influential cult group in 80s counterculture, the chaos magic group called the Temple of Psychic Youth, led by self-proclaimed esoterrorist Genesis P-Orich of Throbbing Gristle, Psychic TV, countless more musical acts. In their Bible, they applied many of the older esoteric principles and teaching into modern culture and setting. A good example would be, I want to mention, NSA's on television magic. They consider it as a mass meme pool of perceptual stimuli, thus very useful for divinatory and sampling process. So one of their ideas was a sort of DVD tarot, which should be a video representation of the archetypes, and this could be randomly shuffled. And these video snippets should be able to trigger more vivid inner experience than just a static picture on a card. Another idea was trying to use TV as sort of a screening stone or a crystal ball, which is connected with the hypothesis that the alien entities are transmitting through the noise. And you just keep looking at the snow until the patterns with certain meanings emerge. Another idea was already mentioned cut-up techniques. They just try to apply it to a video and randomly playing and unplaying different parts of a tape and recording over it to get the sample of reality.
Yeah. So Karin's already mentioned memes, and on the prequel memes subreddit, there are thousands of memes which were created from the Star Wars prequel trilogy, and they've evolved into this kind of intricate system of symbols, which is used by members of the subreddit to generate entire conversations composed completely of quotes from the movies. The most popular of these prequel memes represent these very meaningful archetypes, which are through the mimetic process mapped onto real-world phenomena. So by producing memes, the community is essentially structuring their thoughts and making sense of the world, much like the tarot allows us to produce complex meanings from archetypal symbols. Now, the web as a platform can, of course, also be used to facilitate digital versions of already existing traditional systems of divination. So this is a web application which appears to be based on Bamana. The ritual is replaced by repeatedly clicking on the screen, and the tabs are recorded in fixed time intervals to form rows of varying lengths. Interestingly, the conversation between the fortune teller and the querent, which would normally take place before the ritual, is now replaced by a simple HTML form. And just like the tarot, the emoji character set does capture a certain symbolic understanding of life. While not nearly as rich and powerful, we think that emoji can still be used for basic divination, as we can see here on the left. And also the use of, for instance, predictive natural language processing in everyday technology, such as the keyboard autocomplete you get on your phone, has also prompted people to use it for divinatory purposes. And I think the interesting part of this is that the divinatory medium here is actually a personalized model of your own writing style, which makes for surprisingly fitting and relevant results for you. But we don't have to resort to allegory or replication of traditional methods. What the tech industry calls the cloud is eerily welcoming to divinatory thinking. So we've got assistant devices such as Amazon Echo, messenger chatbots, and anthropomorphic user interfaces. And these are all front to unimaginably complex power structures. composed of data centers, graph databases, and potent data mining. Through their obsession with answering our questions, the Silicon Valley giants have created divination systems whose rituals are so ubiquitous that they became unrecognizable from normality. But we still kind of find ourselves approaching this really complex cloud entity, expecting answers, but knowing next to nothing about how the answers are actually created. And such a system may be engineered, but from the user's point of view, it's practically emergent. So in fact, the only way for an individual to use these systems, in our view, is to accept the fact that no one really knows how they work. And in recent years, the cloud as a divinatory medium has become intricately tied with deep machine learning. And one of the first use cases of machine learning was predicting stock market developments based on previous data. So here we've got this principle applied at the very start of this scientific discipline. Many machine learning models are question answering machines by definition. Their latent spaces serve as a medium. The AI takes on the role of the oracle, sampling from the latent space and generating a single answer, and then providing it to the querent, which can be a machine or human. Interestingly, artists exploring these latent spaces often refer to themselves as explorers or hunters rather than creators. So the unpredictable emergent nature of this process is widely acknowledged. In fact, even the people who invented deep learning have accepted the impossibility of completely understanding them. So we think that the popularity of generative art and GANism is a sign of culture that acknowledges the unpredictability of life, the overwhelming dread of not knowing, of the unknowable, but also the soothing comfort of not knowing. And this acceptance may lead us not only to find answers to our questions in different ways, but also to reevaluate which questions are worth asking.
All right, so before we start the workshop, we would like to share a couple of projects we worked on in the Hermetechnics. So just as a quick reminder, we're gonna analyze them in this framework of the emergence, ritual, and interpretation we already talked about. And now, so we proposed a generative Blygeson system. It is based on the tradition of lead pouring, we already mentioned. But this would be applied to the interpreting of generated surfaces. So if we want to analyze the system according to the previous slide, let's find the 3 principles of divination. So the medium or the emergence are the images generated in Blender using a water physics simulation, and the randomness in the generative algorithm should provide a space for the emergence to rise. The ritual would be the whole process of generating this surface and spotting the elements of interest in them. So we would choose a seed number, insert it into the simulation algorithm, take the resulting 3D mesh, export the result as an image, and use the image as an input for another machine learning pipeline object recognition system. And the output of this would be a picture with marked green boxes with certain recognized objects on them. And then the process of interpretation would be finding some meanings for these interpretations. We can use the position side of the bounding boxes, and the rules for interpreting can be taken either from a traditional folk system, or we can try to create some empirically completely anew, or use some other generative method for creating the interpretation. Click, all right, this one.
Yeah. So this is a system we developed called Broadcast Your Higher Self, which are special AI tarot cards generated from your YouTube recommendations. So using the medium of the recommended videos on the YouTube homepage, which already emerged from YouTube's machine learning models of your behavior, the ritual consists of simply navigating to YouTube in your Chrome browser. And the Chrome extension uses machine learning to analyze the video thumbnails, and it turns them into generative cards. Then your choice of cards essentially determines the immediate future of your YouTube streaming, because you can click on them and then you can navigate to the video that they represent.
And the last small project is a generative neural network, which is trained on all available Crowley's writings I could find in text files. So basically, it's creating a model that generates sentences in the tone, taste, and vocabulary of Mr. Crowley, who can aid you with your problems. So we shall look into this in more detail on our Miro board.
Mm-hmm. So let's just navigate to that. This basically brings us to the creative part of our workshop. You should be seeing that very soon. Yes, okay. So, so basically we're going to be creating a grimoire of divination together. Before we start, we will split into groups of three or two, depending on how many of us are actually present. This should be done automatically. And each group will be assigned to a Zoom breakout room. We're going to be using this collaborative software called Miro. And we're going to post the link in the chat just in case. So when you navigate to the Miro board, you'll find instructions and a frame assigned to your group. So the number of your group will be the number of your breakout room, and then you can find the frame there. The frame will contain a template, which you can fill with text, sketches, images, charts, or embedded YouTube videos. So this should help you sort of structure your proposed divination system. But feel free to change the layout or whatever based on what suits you. So this template is already set up following the 3 principles of divination. And we have also provided an example proposal for Go Ask Alistair. Unfortunately, we only have about 50 minutes for the creative part. So what we're looking for aren't implementations of the divination systems, but rather speculative designs, scenarios that may be. Don't trouble yourselves with detail, but feel free to use whatever tool feels the most natural and appropriate to you for creating the design. So, you might be creating a written manual. It could be a paper prototype that you create, card deck, performance idea, could be a web application, an API, or an audiovisual artwork. So the key is to design a system that can be shared and used by other people. We would suggest starting off maybe by thinking about in your group about your own use cases for divination and your personal experience of it. Feel free to chat a little bit and really spend some time thinking about what you would want to use as a medium, for instance, and how they fare in terms of like accessibility or complexity, but also about the users of your system, the querents and the oracles. So for the workshop live stream, we're going to be present, and we're going to be looking at the Miro board. And also one of us will be visiting each breakout room every now and then. And if you have any questions, you can ask us. Also in the chat, we'll be present at all times. And if there's anything you'd like to you wouldn't like to show us until the end, then please let us know, and we won't be visiting. And at the end, we will have time for each group to present their proposal for 5 minutes, with 1 minute reserved for questions after each presentation. So hopefully this is all clear. Let us know if anything isn't, and if we can help in any way possible. There's 2 of us here, so we're happy to jump into the breakout room and help you. And there's actually 3 of us here as well. So as far as I understand, the Uroboros team can help us with the breakout rooms. Is that correct?
Does anyone have a preference on the groups? Do you have a friend here you want to be in a group in? Or can we just flip a coin?
Yeah, let us know if there's anything we can do.
How many people are there?
I think we've got, let's look at the grid.
Ooh.
There is 14 people, but 2 of those is you, yes? So it's 12.
Yeah.
Plus
12, okay. So that gives us 4 groups of 3. Sounds good.
Yeah, three is good number. I think it's better than 2. And about the Miro, share the link. Definitely share the link to the chat, please.
I mean, the attendees should already have it, but we're going to share it again for sure. I'm just going to post it in the chat now.
Do you have it?
Yep.
Awesome.
Cool. Where is the chat? Oh, there it is. Okay.
and maybe I would just just to jump into. I would like to ask the participants: Are you all clear with the Miro? How to use it, or do you want to go through it? you know, because I know that it's a very nice tool to use, but also like if you don't know how, maybe we could just help people.
So we have to sign in actually.
I will do
Okay.
that as a master. I will just give a question to Jakub. Can I manually divide the participants in each room as I see it, or is there any special desire to be in the groups?
Unless someone has a preference for being in a certain group, if anyone has a friend here, then please let us know in the chat. But if not, yeah, you can just do it as you see fit, pretty much.
But make sure to be flipping a coin when doing it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Jakub, Karin, on the one thing that I try to log into the mirror, and you have to confirm.
Okay, give me a second. I think basically I need to give you a public link. I think.
Yeah.
No, just give access here.
Okay, give access. Okay, you should be receiving an invitation.
This is strange. Can't you just share public link?
I think I can. Yeah, that's what I was going to do. Okay, copy invite link. That's now copied, and then I'm going to just post it in the chat again here on Zoom. There you go.
This should be the one without login.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, it's okay.
Okay.
I think I already got it. Yep. Okay, so everybody is cool with the mirror. Just confirm, you know, now before we will leave to the breakout rooms.
Good.
Cool. So we'll be streaming the Miro board.
Are we gonna open it there, or we should probably open it here?
Yeah, let's do it here. Yeah.
Can I close this?
Yep.
Yeah, just a second. I'm assigning people to the breakout rooms at this moment.
Cool.
I can close this.
Yeah.
Doop. All right.
They don't see it yet, but we have to share.
We have to share. Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay, so
Okay, we've got 6 people in already. That's nice to hear. So you can take a look at the pre-filled template, and just to give you some ideas, it doesn't have to be in the same structure. It doesn't have to be like web application or any. Just can be anything.
Okay.
All right. So we're gonna join the breakout room, right?
Okay, but is that going to keep doing the stream? I'm not sure. I don't think we should go.
Okay, I think the main account should stay in the main room.
And invite me, Jakub Fiala.
yes, Jakub, you are in the main room.
Oh, can we do it the other way around? So Karin is in the main room and I go into the individual rooms.
Sure, I will do that.
Thank you.
You're gonna need headphones because we're gonna be disturbing each other. Do you have? Mine are lying there.
I've got these.
Now everyone saw you're wearing sweatpants with a shirt.
Everybody on the YouTube, you mean, yes?
The whole internet.
I'm joining the breakout room now.
All right, I'm gonna put you on headphones as well. Amazing. So can you hear me still?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Oh, did it? Okay.
So
Do you need the?
I will need to ask Jacqueline to confirm and join to breakout room number 5.
Jakob, can you confirm joining into a room? Or I think he already is in a room.
I mean Jacqueline.
Okay.
Okay.
But Lukashi, I'm a little bit confused. Who will stay in this room?
Well, 3 of us.
Yeah, because right now basically it's 3 of us live streaming.
Okay, just a second.
So we're responsible for the entertainment now, right?
Yes, yes, yes.
Let me read for my tarot cards. Am I still streaming the screen?
Yes,
Sharing
yes,
the screen?
Yes, you are.
Amazing. So maybe I can show a bit around the. Oh, so we've got one group here, right?
yes.
Oh yeah.
Hello.
Hello.
Are we supposed to be here? No, I don't get it.
You're the chosen group who stays in the main room.
Okay.
Cool.
Oh, little people are coming back. Something is wrong.
Just a second.
Yeah, we got bumped from the breakout rooms.
Yes.
Yeah. I think this is correct because you are the group which is going to stay in the main room here.
But we are 6 people.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry, I will fix it. So,
Okay,
Hi,
maybe Karin,
guys. We were put back into the main session from our
Yes.
breakout room.
yeah, just a second, I will do it once again.
Okay, thanks.
Okay, Karin, maybe in between, if you could maybe like introduce more, go through the Miro dashboard you created,
Yeah.
so we got into the idea. Because I have to say that also I have to still get into like.
Okay, so
setting.
until we do this breaking thing, let's take a look at the Miro board. So I included there some sort of brainstorm section where we put all the process of actually thinking about it, where the initial idea was the kind of reading where you take a book, open it, and you read a random sentence, which is also a method of like sampling the reality. And I was thinking that this is quite an interesting way to get some sort of divination insight. This is quite often done with the Bible, because Bible is considered as, you know, the full microcosm, which contains like everything important. And then I was thinking that, well, I would like to use something else than a Bible. So how about I use, for example, some Crowley's book? But then I found that the sentences in the book are quite too specific. So I decided to make them into basically a generator of the Crowley sentences, which, I mean, this is quite a technical idea, because well, I work with this neural artificial intelligence stuff, but your ideas could be much more based on some sort of visual processes or any sort of creative tools you use while being creative. So this kind of like the upper part kind of maps the mind map of what I decided to do, and in the other part I included the final product, as we had much more time to prepare for this. So I actually created like a proper visuals. Then we created some like wireframes, because we thought it should be a web application. Then we described it from the perspective of those 3 points we talked about, because I think that's a good framework to kind of give you some creative restraints. So the emergence is actually the process of having like a black box of neural model which generates these sentences. We don't really know how exactly are the numbers calculated. Then we proposed a ritual on what you should do when you ask the question, that you should focus on it, that you should do some appropriate signs, and then some words should come to your mind, and you type them into a text box, and this serve as a seed for what is Alistair going to answer you, some sort of like input. And the interpretation, I think that's a pretty straightforward, because we are generating a plain text, so you should be able just to read what the oracle said to you. And yeah, so this is basically the outline, but it's like if you decide to design some cards, this is gonna look completely differently, right? You can think of what you want to put there as motifs, symbols, what's gonna be the underlying structure. If you wanna copy the typical Tarot logic, just exchange the symbols, as for example Jodorowsky did in Holy Mountain. Or if you want to create completely like your own cards generated by your own experience of life, or if you want to you know, interpret just, yeah, it's up to you how you approach this creative part.
Okay, so I have to ask, because you know, I'm familiar with the chatbot. Is there anything as a chatbot who could, like, you know, God, I got stuck actually. Like kind of the sorcerer chatbot, you know, who would predict my future actually, or just the chatbots who still like just talk to me?
Well,
fortune teller, actually, chatbot is fortune teller.
Well, the thing is that this is not necessarily a chatbot, because chatbot is trying to kind of understand your question and provide something from his knowledge base. But this is rather, this is almost as if you took Crowley's writing, cut them up and shake them well. So it has this, it basically gives you a prophecy in a manner of popping open the fortune cookie, only it's tailored to sound and look like what would Alistair write in one of his books. So yeah, so it's not necessarily focused on the semantic meaning of your question. It's rather an artistic project. So
yeah, a random generator.
Yeah, seeded with whatever you feed into it, which essentially most of the divination systems are, to a certain degree, random generators. So how are we doing?
The breakout rooms are prepared. It's just for the participants, you should join the breakout rooms. You are divided already, and 3 of you will remain in the main room with Karin and Michael.
All right, then I would just, are they all gone now?
At this moment, only Jakub and Kim are in the breakout rooms. Yeah, they are leaving, and in the main session, there will remain 3 participants.
Okay, so Jakub will be hovering around and helping if you have some questions. But is all clear? Any questions? Okay, then happy creating. I'm curious to see what are you gonna come up with. See you soon.
Okay, so as far as I understand, guys, you were requested to confirm the breakout rooms. So we still have few people here.
Yes.
So we will be also like, because we should be here also as a group, as I understand actually. So how many people, we will ask Lukáš, how many people should stay here?
I shouldn't stay there. I should be in some group, but maybe I somehow skip the invitation.
Deepa, just try to find the confirmation on your screen and join the breakout room number 7.
Okay, how do I? Okay, here. Yeah.
And
and probably I should also be in some group.
Yes, Christian, you are in a breakout room 8, and that will be completed.
So this button of breakout room is...
Where do I find it? I can find it too.
So maybe somebody stays here. So maybe, I don't know if we with Karin, like Lukáš, who's supposed to stay here?
Just Vina and Karin and you.
Okay, so that's us basically. So Christian, if you will not find the right breakout room, You can stay
How
outside.
I'm actually finding this right breakout room now.
In the menu, can you see the breakout rooms, for instance? There's like
Well,
a in
I'm
the
supposed to
bottom
stay
line.
here as well.
No, Janina and Kai, you stay with us here, okay? We will start once we will.
And find actually where to, how to jump.
In the bottom line, you have a setting with more. Try to open the more setting, and there should be a breakout rooms. I hope your interface is the same.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect.
Okay. Ciao.
Ciao.
See you soon.
Okay, so Karin, you stayed with us and you will design with us, or what's?
Well, can I move in between the rooms or not really?
Yes, Karin, you can. You are co-host, so you can move between different rooms.
So I guess I will stay with you for a while, and then I might jump into a different room.
Okay, so maybe you will help us to start with Janina and Kai. So maybe I will ask Janina. Yeah,
Yes.
Can you hear me? Yeah, super. So what do you think? We should propose, as far as I understand, we are proposing some web tool or some, some digital tool. It can be anything, but basically it can be like application. And so, for example, let's start with, is there any problem in your life you would like to solve? And this divine power could help us with? So
I don't know. I think that divination tools, I think it's good for, like, as already said, for artistic creation, maybe to get some inspiration, to mix up stuff and get new meaning out of nothing. You mean? Like you feed something into a system and get something new back. Like I think that would be nice, like to create something like that. Like to get some new meaning out of it.
okay, so let's start with let's take the group number 1 board. You see it? You see it? So so we can start to use it, for some like basic maybe idea sketching, what we would like to do, where we would like to lead this system actually. So for me, and what about you, Kyle?
Maybe, I mean, usually I like to introduce chance in the way that I travel, or in the way that I choose a destination. So that is that is where I would use a form of divination to help me decide, because the consequence
super.
The consequence is not very it's not like a huge kind of consequence.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would actually use the advice that's given.
Yeah. Okay. Janina, what do you think about it? So use some divine power to help people to travel, to pick a location, to pick the way how they travel actually.
Yeah, I was thinking about doing something with Google Earth before, or like maps. Like an algorithm to be provided with a specific locality, like by coincidence or something. Maybe we could do something with it.
Okay, Google sounds nice. Okay, so board 1 is ours, so feel free to share that ideas. So we know that we are heading for some like system for vacations, for holidays, for traveling, maybe for some, family gatherings, but all it will be, I don't know how I'm using just post it, but I like it right now. We will use this chance or eating system to we'll just write like here right now to help us to select like what should we do. And we also want to incorporate a little bit of Google Earth into the system. Yes. So, but you know, what about like let's start. If you agree on this, we can start somehow like designing this.
Yeah, I'm fine with it. Yeah. Actually,
Yeah, okay.
I downloaded this Google Earth extension on Chrome, and basically every time when you open a new tab, it shows you a different location.
Oh, okay.
So it is kind of like the black box. You know, it generates a random area view of Google Earth. Yeah. So maybe
You,
that can be used.
you know, but the thing is that we have to add some surplus. You know that people. Okay, we can do it as in the end, like the back end of our application, whatever we are creating, basically like opening the new tabs in Google Chrome. But the front end needs to look like that we are doing something like very magical, you know, because we want to sell this to some people, so they need to think that we are really doing something here. So
The esoteric market.
yeah, yeah, like you know that basically. Okay, what will I like this? I like this that the front end is basically just like tab opening in Chrome of Google Earth. So that's our divination principle. But now we need to think of a front end. So
yeah, maybe we could do something with picture similarity or something like you feed a picture into the system and then it shows you a like a place on Earth that looks similar to it or something like this.
Okay. So before we get to the because the vacation. Maybe I would like to follow this. But how you decide about where you go to for a vacation? Actually,
I think that's really hard to decide.
But we need to collect some, you know, like some purposes. Why people do it? You know, just to know, like why to
I
want to
was
do it.
thinking about this today. It always has a political implication to decide where to go on vacation. So I don't know.
Okay.
Maybe this would be nice to not having to decide where to go and just do it randomly, but I don't know. Or like with that tool, divination tool.
Yeah, that's definitely as far as as I understand it, we want to create a tool like the application, and this application basically decide for you where you will travel, how you will travel, and basically what you will do there. Yeah, this is like this is kind of it will be kind of like LARP maybe that it will all the time gives you instruction what you should do next. Actually, it will just generate for you the activities. What should you do? Like so you just buy the application on App Market. Okay, it will cost like $3. No, it should cost you more because you know we are from Silicon Valley.
666.
600. Yes, that's the price we sell. Okay,
we could make it 666 to be, you know. So that's a great idea. Maybe would be good to think of a way how you could tailor it for the user. For example, how to feed it his own data or his own history in order to give it some sort of like his own personal like interplay to the divination system. You know, the same way as a person reading the tarot cards, it's the person himself shuffling the deck. So he has a certain feeling of agency over it. When you're pouring the lead, you have a feeling of actually like it's your hand doing it. So maybe it's good when there is, you know, some sort of also slice of personal input into it. But you don't have to use that.
Maybe like a mission that it gives you a mission, the app.
Like, I think yeah.
Like the place, the locality, and then a mission, like what you're gonna do there, and maybe the mission should be personalized, and then the app tells you where to go.
Mission should be personalized.
Or do you think the mission should be created by the app?
No, okay.
I mean, there's this app called Derive, which basically gives you some kind of mission that based on what I understand, for example, talk to a stranger or eat something you've never done before. So like this kind of missions help you to explore the place in a new way. Yeah, but in the case of choosing a destination, what kind of missions, what kind of examples of missions are we talking about?
Find an extraterrestrial item.
Okay,
Yeah.
I will
Stuff
drink a
like
little.
that. Stuff that's maybe not possible.
That's what I expect from my holidays.
With an extraterrestrial item. Okay. Mission. Randomizer. Okay, you mentioned some app. You mentioned some app, and how was it called? Derive?
Yeah, I think it's. I'll type it out.
Or if you have it on screen, you can also share the screen so we can see it actually. Or you can type it in the do it in brainstorm board. I like the extraterrestrial item. So this will be very like, because I was thinking that, okay, we sell the price for 666. Yeah, that's how we start. But then we need to add extras. Yeah, because for 666, we cannot basically sell anything. Yeah. So we need to find a way how to monetize this to get more money out of the people. You know, so basically it will be gamified system. So it means that you will have to unlock a kind of a levels. Yeah, like once you get to the airport, now you need to add extra 1,000 euros or $1,000, and maybe this could be the thing, you know, that you first set the budget for the travel, then system maybe like I just imagine it now, like, okay, you set the budget for the travel, then you talk to some kind of a chatbot, or you know, it hasn't to be the chatbot, something which collects the information from you, like from some actual state. Okay, you have to like maybe connect your Facebook, or maybe not Facebook. We can do something very, very strange. Like what kind of data, digital data we could connect of somebody? Like your some record, something not usual, like not credit cards, not medical.
How many steps you do every day, because the phone collects that, but it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, I mean, how many steps you take in a day can have a sense of how active you are.
Yeah.
So we will work with this fitness application. So basically, we are extension of a fitness application. So we just need to get a bunch of data from fitness application. Cool. We have nice partners now in Silicon Valley.
We try to move people with letting them search for extraterrestrial items.
And guys, I will ask you to also write down everything you say, because I'm not able to follow. So
okay.
So feel free. I'm just doing the post-its because I didn't figure out how to do anything else right now. So I like the post-its, and I like to post them basically out of the brainstorm board, because that's, you know, we are thinking outside of the box, you know. So let's think outside the box. Okay. So the idea was that we need to get data from our fitness application, fitness app. That's super data. Yeah. So basically we will because what kind of data this fitness apps collects? It collects like how many steps you do, some maybe calories, how much calories you burn.
I think the basic fitness data is the steps, because for everything else you need those.
You need sensors in the to collect the data. But you know, steps is good. Okay, steps is good, but I like for example to use like heartbeat, you know, rate for some purpose, you know, that because that's very close to divination, you know, that it's really like something not just logical, you know. So I would like to.
I think heartbeat might make it a bit less accessible, because you need more tools to measure heartbeat.
Of course, but you know, we need also extras. We need to sell to people very extra services, because it costs only 666, guys, in the beginning. Okay, this is just the starter. You know, we need to. This is a golden golden business. So we need to figure out. But steps. Okay, steps are definitely something like we will work with. Okay. Okay, we need also think of the good name for it.
And maybe the heartbeat can like is an extension. So if you measure your heartbeat, and then like the app can see if you really went there and looked for it because you moved around. I don't know. And then you get some reward if you really do it.
Yeah, reward. Yeah, that was you know, basically the very important thing we need to realize is the system. We are talking here about gamification, because the person who is buying because they pay for the application, and they need to collect more money out of them. So they need to open these extras, and they need to pay the extras. There needs to be like a level. You know, you are like beginner level, then you have pro level. You know, super advanced pro level. Actually, so once people open these levels, there is new opportunities to them. So, for example, in the basic level, in like the in like ordinary traveler, let's say, you just collect the steps, yeah, information about the steps. Then when you open the next level, like the more advanced, you collect information about the heartbeat, yeah. And then because we are going to extraterrestrial, so we definitely need to collect informations from the dream. That will be our the last step, you know, like heartbeat, and then will be we need to create some kind of dream collector, actually, because when people start believe that we are able to look into their dreams to pick right vacation for them, then they will buy our product.
You mean level 3 is collecting dreams?
Yeah, collecting data from dreams, exactly. Come on, we are.
So neuronal.
Yeah, Neuralink, exactly. That's what we need. Yeah.
It's physical movements, heartbeat, and then brain.
And then brain, exactly. Then we should. I think we shouldn't say brain. We should say dream, because
I wrote dream data.
Yeah, dream data, because that's exactly, you know, when we are talking about vacation, the dream is a sell point. Actually, everybody, you know, vacation is your dream. You know where you want to go. So the last level of this level application is the dream level.
And the dream is the direct path to the extraterrestrial.
Yeah, realm. Exactly. Dream level is the extraterrestrial. Exactly.
And then we could the first level is maybe the extraterrestrial item. Then we can the second level can be a ancient extraterrestrial city or something, or an area where something happened with aliens. And the level 3 is like encounter with an extraterrestrial.
Okay, so with steps, the reward we gives you is some extraterrestrial item with a heartbeat collected. We gives you some extraterrestrial place, and with dream data, we gives you some
experience.
Yeah, one-to-one, like, yeah, experience. Okay.
Should I write it?
No, I will write it down now. Okay, so now we have the steps, gives you the item, extraterrestrial item. I don't know how many S is in extraterrestrial item. Then with the heart, we give you extraterrestrial place, and with the dream data, we give you the extraterrestrial encounter. Face-to-face experience. Oh wow! And we will definitely like. Okay, so we need, guys. I know that we are heading. This is very nice how where we are heading, but okay. So the first level is for 666. Second level is for 666, 666. And the third level is for 666, 666, 666 if you want to unlock it. Yeah, like, because come on. Yeah, this is like real business. This is a real business. Yeah. Okay, and we also need to think of a name. This will be very crucial. You know, it's all marketing is about how to brand it.
It could be a nice name.
We don't have to solve it now. Just we just should start thinking, like brainstorm also, like how we will call this actually. I like this. How it's called? Come on. Sorry, I don't know why I stuck with the dreams, but you know there is this dream catcher thing.
Yeah.
Like I think Indian people use it a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is very like, you know, it's a little bit of people. It already has some meaning, so we can use this meaning, original one.
With the dream catcher.
Yeah, with the dream catcher. Yeah,
Yeah,
and it will be, come on. It will
aim.
be device. It will be device, hardware. We are producing hardware, not software. We are doing the hardware. You know, this will be the thing. This will be the gate into data.
So you mean the dream catcher will collect the data?
Yeah, dream catcher. So you have to buy the piece of software. Yeah, piece of hardware we sell. We don't sell software. We sell, of course, software and hardware, but the thing we want to get into your home is a piece of
dream
hardware.
catcher. It's like you can put it on your chest and it measures your heartbeat.
Yeah. So first, I see. Now I see packaging. You know, packaging will be everything. Like we have to really like style the nice packages. So the first will be like very small dream catcher, which you will you buy for 666, and then you will have it on your keys.
Yes.
And that's how we will collect the data. It will be also hooked up to your application, fitness application. So it will collect data from you running. So this is the first level, yeah. The second level, we will send you the bigger one, which you will place, you know, above your heart. So we will start to collect data from your heart rate, and we will just measure it like over the day. And then the dream data, it will be like two very such like big piece of the hardware, which will be placed on your nightstand. We need to be on your nightstand and collect the data.
Or on the head, like a
Yeah,
net,
like,
a dream catcher net.
Of course so. Of course so. Okay, how much time we have on this? Like a whole life or just a few minutes?
So we decided initially we wanted 50 minutes because there were going to be 5 groups in total, but because we only have 3 groups, we can go until 12:40.
We have still 20 minutes, yeah?
Yeah.
Can I put pictures in the?
Yeah. I think you can do drag and drop, if I'm right.
Okay.
Kai, if you have some idea, please feel to share.
Yeah.
This is what we need, guys. I found it. This is the device. This is how it should look like in the end.
Did you already write down with the device? No.
Sorry, what's the question? I'm looking for images.
Did you write the idea with the devices down already? No.
No about the hardware. Not the idea about the hardware.
I'm gonna write it.
No, welcome. Thank you. Yes. Now I have to show you the image of the. Yes, that's very nice. Come on. I just find the right image for our third level of our hardware device.
That's awesome.
This is exactly what we need.
Like a tube sucking the dreams.
Yes, yes. Okay, so when we have the small one, and okay, let's think also of the. This is because I would say that this dream catcher will be the first level on the keys, and then we need some middle level, which will be collect the heartbeat.
Dream catcher. I wrote dream catcher on chest measuring heartbeat.
Super, super, super. Okay, so basically it's application and hardware device you have to order from us. We know that from 666 you got the dream catcher as a key holder on a key holder. Then for 666 you got the dream catcher on the chest measuring your heartbeat because we want to know because we want to follow your heart into deciding for you
And how
where you will
reacts
travel.
to the place, to the.
Yeah. Because the keys unlocks the potentials. Then we go to heart because we want to follow your heart to the places you like the most. And then we go to your dreams. Yeah, that's the 3 levels of our marketing.
We can measure how your heartbeat reacts to the different extraterrestrial places, so we can personalize the dream better.
Yes, yes, yes. You know how I see it now, like Clockwork Orange, you know, when he was looking at those images, actually, you know, like the violent images. So now we could do it like that in the second level at some point. You need to look at the video, be prepared, and we will show you the images of extraterrestrial and measuring your heartbeat and what data we collect. On this data, we will help to decide our
the realm we create for the $666. We create a personalized extraterrestrial realm and experience with real extraterrestrials.
Yeah. And now I have one very, very critical question for our startup. You know, we are a very young startup. We only exist maybe for 20 minutes. We are developing the product like which maybe doesn't make sense at all, but will people travel in the real world or in virtual reality? I think Janina wants to go to extraterrestrial, so definitely she wants to visit some friends. But
I think because of the carbon footprint, people will choose to explore in the virtual world.
It can be with VR.
VR, yeah. I think this should be VR product. Yeah. This should be VR product. So we will just basically create the metaverse based on your personal data. So we will create your personal metaverse based on the data we collect on these 3 levels of.
Yes.
Yeah. But also with the, you know, I like the idea of step collecting, and we have a key holder, we have a step collecting, so unlocking some potential, you going somewhere. I would really like to, this maybe should be like a physical level. This vacation, this first level of the vacation should be like in the physical world actually, and should be based on walking like that.
Yes.
The system, for example, is that you can preset like how far you want to go, like.
And the last level is the VR level.
Yeah, the VR level, the metaverse level. Yeah.
And you have to do the first 2 levels to get to the VR part. And in the first 2 levels, you collect the data, which is the potential for the last one.
Okay.
Or something like that.
Okay, guys, but I have to talk to our CFO. Who is our CFO? who thinks that we will sell Dreamcatcher for 6.66? We need to sell it for 666. We are not, you know, we don't want to live on the street. We need to be very expensive. This is an Apple product.
You think it's too cheap?
For 6, you know, the question is like how
it can be 6.66 Bitcoin.
Oh my gosh, this is my CFO, definitely. Yeah. Let's do it in crypto. Definitely. Let's not take any like let's screw up with the dollars and stuff. We only accept crypto. Because also, you know, with our company, all data we collect, everything is scripted. You know, we just use the, you know, like we use better encryption than Zoom.
That's not hard.
You know, but you know, the first rule of the Zoom: do not talk about Zoom in a Zoom. Because when we did it last time, we got completely screwed up. Like the call just failed and everything. And so hopefully now, hi Zoom guys, don't shut up. Don't.
Zoom is great.
Zoom is good. Yeah, good. CFO. Yeah, I see that. Okay, so Bitcoins. So no dollars, we do it in the Bitcoins. Cool. But 6 Bitcoins. Whew. So maybe 0.66 like this. What do you think?
I don't know how many. Yes, this is.
But because the highest level need to be 666 Bitcoins. This is very... Okay, and we need to find some metaverse image. So any ideas about the name of the product?
Extraterrestrial dream catcher. Extraterrestrial dream.
I like the EDC, extraterrestrial dream catcher. EDC. It's a dream catcher. Basically, all hardware is look like a dream catcher. So maybe dream catcher is the good. It's DC. Extraterrestrial. DCE.
When would we be using this hardware that we create? Are we using it in the day or are we using it at night?
No, we want our Dreamcatcher to be with you all the time.
All the time. Okay. So the Dreamcatcher is catching dreams in the day when we are not dreaming?
No, because because we have the 3 levels of Dreamcatcher. The name of the product is Dreamcatcher.
Okay.
But the smallest one, and also you have to unlock them in the exact order. So you cannot be like the customer who comes to the shop and buys the last. You have to start from the beginning because, you know, we need to also build some, because I think also this is very important in divination, you know, the relation with you, you know, that it's a kind of a long term. It's not just like a one-time thing. It's for me, it's a long term. So we think that to start with our product, you have to start with a small key holder, the Dreamcatcher actually. Yeah. But this one is only collecting the steps, you know, like because, okay, but does the fitness application collect only the number of steps or also track your GPS?
I would say we'll track your where you go.
Yeah. So then it's already dream, you know, because
maybe it also lights up or creates a noise when you go past fellow dream catchers, and then you can start a conversation.
Maybe.
Okay. So maybe we have Jakub here, so maybe we could use him for a moment, if he's okay with that.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Yeah, You know, because you are expert in this, you know, you already has this very successful startup,
Sure.
Silicon Valley startup, and
Mm.
we have this thing like I think you heard us for a moment.
Yes, I was listening a little bit. Sorry, I'm just trying to like monitor other groups as well. But yeah.
So basically, we are trying to develop this hardware / application.
Mhm.
It's we are the proposal for the name is something like extraterrestrial dreamcatcher,
Love it.
EDC, DCE. Because it's basically the hardware, how it looks like is a dream catcher in 3 sizes. So it opens also 3 levels. First level is that that you place it on a key holder, and basically it
Came here to tell you that we've got 10 more minutes. And
then okay, but 10 more minutes.
Oh, sorry. That's cutting.
No problem, no problem. So I'm just wondering if we are missing something, if we shouldn't like add something extra, you know, if you are still on the track of what you wanted from us.
Right. Well, I mean, basically, if you've got the I think the 3 principles are basically the most useful thing to think about. So if you could add like basically if you can describe your system in terms of the 3 principles, then it can, in our view, be thought of as a divination system, and it is and that's basically it. And you can also make the commercial if you want to kind of sell it to your potential users and customers.
Emergence.
Okay. So triad, we need a triad.
Yeah.
But we already have one. Because we have 3 levels of the product. Yeah. Yeah. We have the 3 levels of the product. Yeah. But
yes.
we can. Okay. But we can maybe let's think some other triad we should.
So the emergence of it is collecting the data, like the steps, the heartbeat, and the neurodata. Then the ritual is the like.
Maybe once a month you are allowed to ask a question based on your past 28 days.
Yeah.
I think group 3 and our group is overlapping on Miro.
You think they are using our ideas?
No, they are over physically on the bot. Our bots are overlapping.
But I've also seen Bitcoin featuring on both sides. Yeah, it's interesting.
I think I've heard Bitcoin in every break room. Blockchain is the topic.
Amazing.
Is there any other new divination system than blockchain? I think it's the newest one.
I don't know. We can see we can only see it from the perspective of Silicon Valley, and still that's where blockchain is the big thing. So yeah, I think you're onto something. I can get you in touch with some investors if you'd like.
I think we should think of what the device give back to the user, or what they like, the enlightenment part of it. What do the aliens tell you? What do the aliens tell the user?
You mean you're talking about the encounter, yeah?
Yeah, or that the divination part of it.
Okay, yeah.
Like what maybe the alien could tell you what your mission in life is, or help you with decisions, or tell you what to do or not to do. I don't know.
But we have to also understand this, that we are a Silicon Valley company, so we are basically not solving your life problem. We are adding the new ones which can be solved. Yeah, that's otherwise nobody would buy our product. Yeah.
You are being streamed live carefully with telling these secrets out, okay?
Sorry, I forgot. I didn't realize it. Okay. No. This is very right. Like, what will be the ending point? Yeah, if you pay, you get through all levels. What's in the end? What you will see in the end?
So it must have a promise. User.
So, and the question is, because one option is that because in third level, when we collect the dream data, neuro data, you are in the metaverse, yeah, because we do not travel any in the physical world anymore. Yeah, first level is a physical world, very close close distance. So it means that small dream catcher takes you for some unexpected place in, let's say, 50, 100 kilometers from your home. The second level, that's a dream catcher from the data from your hard data. So it takes you to the place you really want to go all your life, but you just didn't know about it because we found out. The divination, our algorithm find out like what was the
personalized place.
Yeah, personalized place which you didn't think of before, but we took you there and you suddenly realize, yes, this was it. And the third level is dream data or neuro data. And then we take you to the metaverse. We take you to the virtual reality.
Like the optimum fulfillment of all your dreams and like accelerated wishes, personal wishes experience.
Yeah. So, but we want to make an encounter. An encounter has to be like a physical experience. So what we have to sell is that we have this like kind of physical experience in virtual reality, which is the thing, because this is a sell point. I would say, that get physical, get physical virtual reality. But in the end, I just see, like a matrix scene when Neo was for the first time in the simulator of the Matrix to show him how it looks like with the Morpheus, and there was this chair and the TV. So I see it a little bit like this, and the TV, and you sit there, yeah, and the process will be like metaverse will be very, very fascinating. A lot of images, a lot of objects, like it will be very rich, very rich on the imaginary. But in the end, there will be this kind of a chair and the TV, and on the TV there will be this scene from the answer from the Hitchhiker Guide to the Galaxy. Yeah. This is what we will sell you in the end, 42, nothing more.
Okay, so no personalized experience, but
No. The personal, yeah, that's true. Personal experience will be the metaverse, because the metaverse will be built on your data, on your dream data.
Yeah.
The metaverse will be already your reflection. But the question is, because you was explaining that we want to build some, that we want to answer to some big question like what should you do in life, what's the meaning and stuff. But in the end, this is a nerdy. We will say that it's nerd application. So in the end, does all this. Just imagine playing a game, playing some computer game, playing it for 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks you are in the last level fighting with the last boss, and when you kill him, there is the TV. On the TV, there is just the video of the computer telling you that the answer to all questions in the world is 42.
Yeah, that's the promise.
That's the end. That's the product we sell.
Guys, I had to kill your vibe, but we are approaching the end slowly. So please wrap it up. And also...
Just last thing, Angelina, this will be the physical experience, because somebody will get out of the TV. Somebody have to get out of the TV in the, the horror movie with the girl when she get out of the TV. This will be the last. This will be the encounter with the extraterrestrial.
Yes, that's perfect.
Please let me step in here. So I will inform all the participants in the breakout rooms that in 1 minute we will close the rooms, right?
Yes, I think Jakob is just informing them that we're going to close the breakout rooms.
Are you guys there? Yeah.
Guys, we don't have the name still.
I
But with
think-
extraterrestrial dream catcher, EDC. That's not enough.
I was thinking we should change the currency to Ethereum since it starts with ET.
Yes!
It's ETH.
Yes! Yes! Exactly. No Bitcoins, Ethereum.
Yeah. You need to change the currency.
I keep it open. Okay. ETH, yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, but now we can add the values, because it is that's not a Bitcoin, so definitely let's get back to original 6. Because this is experience you want.
No, there was no group tree.
Right, so here we are. Is anyone else missing? Are you missing any of your group buddies? If not,
Should be back.
No.
brilliant. So in that case, we've got 15 minutes, which should be hopefully about right. So let's start by the group which made the system called Pharmacon. Could you please present your proposal?
So Daniel, would you do it? We will help you.
Yeah, please.
And
wait,
feel free to screen.
I lost it.
Do you want us to screen share, or do you want to?
I think it's better if you screen share, or just for the notes. I think it's easier. But I can also have the.
I'm sharing your proposal now. The whole board.
Okay. Yeah. So at the beginning, we just talked about what each of us is kind of interested in. And Frauke told us about that she is already as well developing a kind of divination system. And we tried to, Dita as well as me, I think we're very convinced about it. We liked it. So we tried to enhance it or like feed it with our own experiences or with our own ideas. So we devised this. It's very abstract system. It's a very abstract idea that feeding a network of people, maybe experts, maybe not experts, but just post-democracy like signifier, encrypted meaning, an encrypted message in a non-human way. And this thing would be then decrypted by this network of humans, of people, of persons, with own pattern recognitions. And then they would put it together to answer this encrypted message, like this encrypted question inquiry, without really knowing what it is about and without really like caring about what it really means or for what purpose it goes. But the interpretation would be then like totally individual, like pharmacon for that thing that is bothering you.
And if I can note, I think there was also a notion of post-democracy as a pharmacon for our society or something, Frauke, she was talking about a group of 7 people, of small dynamic groups that are actually somehow alternative to the main system or something. But already in this small group of 7 people, you could see some synchronicity. You can see like people getting messages for someone else from the group, and they were connected very very tightly. And we were trying to think about the system which would connect not only humans but machine. Actually, we were talking about these virtual personalities of philosophers we created using neural networks. And we were talking about the notion of life, biological life and artificial life. but I think it's for a long discussion. So, so it's just notes.
That's amazing. Thank you. We have some time for questions, maybe a couple of minutes. I would like to start by asking, so you're talking about a network of humans. So how, so to connect these humans, or like to approach this interface, I'm not sure if I completely understood, like, how would I, as an individual, start using this system? Like, how what's the first point of contact for me? Is it like I need to find one of these people who are in this network, or?
You have to join the network. The network has to be created first, I would say.
Right.
You know, there's an opportunity to become a member of that network.
Mm-hmm.
Very abstract, maybe too. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, like, following your example, Frauke, it would be just like by sending an email, basically, with your inquiry, like getting the right address, you know?
Yeah, it's also a question of chance too, you know, how do you get your friends? By chance, partly, because they are part of the same network somehow. So like in a divination system, you have something which is logical somehow and couldn't be otherwise. And then you have this notion of chance and sympathy and so on.
Right. Oh, amazing. It's really interesting. Any other questions from the rest of the participants? Okay. If there are no more questions, then let's move on. Well, sorry. Let's move on to the community choir Zoom data necromancy. I love this. Cool. Steve, the floor is yours.
There's more.
There were a lot of brainstorming beginning. Shoot it, Kim.
Okay, so we started asking ourselves questions about how we personally used any kind of divination systems, and I think we're all kind of interested but not practitioners. The initial question was, do we want to know the future, and how can we avoid the future rather than what is the future? And we were also thinking about what is available to us whilst we're in lockdown. We had a brief conversation about astrology and the idea that actually when you look at the combination of astrology and astronomy, there are electromagnetic emissions from planets that can be interpreted. So what things do we have around us whilst we're in lockdown that are susceptible to these electromagnetic emissions? So we started thinking about our local internet connectivity, how reliable our connection to the outside world is through the copper cables in the ground. And then also about what other forms of data and statistics we're currently surrounded with. So what happens if you combine the feed of statistics around the spread of coronavirus with your local planetary influenced internet connection? So the idea is to use a generative algorithm to take these two data sources, like the local personal one of your connection and the wider spread of the virus, process that through a harmonic algorithm that generates a music score. These music scores are then passed out to local Zoom community choirs, who will quite literally sing the data, the combinatorial scores of the data that's been generated that day. And the idea is that that process of a ritual is kind of close to a mantra. So it's not so much divination, more as a kind of a protective ritual. So using the ideas of necromancy, watching the spread of death, as an apotreic practice to bring a better world into being through a community ritual of singing.
That's incredible. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's
Great,
great.
Kim.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Any questions?
I would maybe just like to say that I really like that you used a kind of that used sound as a kind of output, that there's already a layer of interpretation there, you know, and it already comes with its own layer of symbolism and meaning for humans. I think this is quite a cool thing to do when trying to convey a message that's already in some kind of data form, then transforming it into something else is a way of kind of already adding a level of divinatory quality to it. Yeah.
Yeah, it was there's a very beautiful piece of server monitoring software that was used about 10-15 years ago, which uses birdsong to represent server activity. So you can walk into your server room and kind of go, oh shit, the parrots are really noisy, we've got a problem in such and such a system.
And also, of course, like one of the most powerful divination system is basically the stock exchange. It's the how, I mean, if you're talking about divination, then we can talk about how the financial system is functioning and basically how the financial system is influencing the world that we are living in. And regarding the song, there was one artist called Ola Persson, and he took the live feed from Nasdaq of I think 8 most powerful companies. Nasdaq is the stock exchange index of technological companies, and then he took like Microsoft, Yahoo, and some other companies, and then he invited a choir, and then they were singing the song across how basically the stock exchange is going up or down. So basically they were singing. Like the music, you know, kind of note system.
Right. That's really great. Thank you so much. And let's move on to the last proposal, the extraterrestrial dream catcher. The floor is yours.
So Janina, would you like to present it?
I don't care. You can do it as well.
You can do it. Fine.
Yeah. Okay, so we were thinking about an application that enables you to have an encounter with extraterrestrials through collecting your data, your steps, tracking your steps, and measuring your heartbeat with 2 different devices, a key additive and a chest, like a chest, I don't know, dream catcher on the chest, and a hat that measures your neuro data and your dream activity. And yes, maybe you wanna talk more about it.
Okay, so maybe Kai, do you want to add something?
Because so basically there are different levels in this, and you have to go through the whole process. So that is kind of the ritual. Like initially, you would be using your steps to calculate like your activity in the day, and then it would affect it will create something that you can interpret. And then the second level is the measuring of your heartbeat, which is your emotional activity. And then the last level is to measure your neural activity, like when you are sleeping. So like in the commercial part, you can see the kind of devices, hardware that we are envisioning. It's more like a humorous word application that to introduce some randomness into your daily life.
And the point of it is to create at level 3 to create a personalized experience of illumination,
I really like that you've got 3 levels, because that's obviously a significant number.
But you guys are pretty expensive.
Yeah.
Do you have some like subscription?
You know, our hardware piece is precious. So
I mean, we can discuss the details of the business model separately. I also just wanted to say that that hat is absolutely incredible, and I really want it.
yeah, that's a sales point. That's a sales point. Definitely.
Any questions from the other participants?
Is the alien experience like real? Like, or how is the alien experience?
It could be with
Like, do they ever come down?
They're living among us. Come on,
Yeah.
it's old knowledge.
Right.
So just to answer the Daniel, the idea was basically that because we understood it more as a startup, so we was very much trying to match the startup culture. So in the end, the first level was the physical level of Dreamcatcher when you just go close to your house. The second level of Dreamcatcher was when you go to some dream vacation. And the third level is happening in virtual reality. But we were thinking of in the end that, yeah, it has to happen a physical encounter in physical reality with these strangeness of extraterrestrial. But in the end, like we see it, as we see it as a chair in the Matrix, you know, when Neo is finding out what the real world, how the real world looks like. So in the end, there will be just the 42, you know, from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, because we use Ethereum, we are very nerdy device and application. So
guys, with that budget, nothing is possible.
Let's do it. Yeah. Sky's the limit. Sky's the limit.
Thank you so much, everyone, for attending our workshop. This has been absolutely incredible for us, and it's really great to see your proposals. We loved each and every one of them. It's really thought-provoking. So what we'll do is we will sorry, can I just share my screen for a little bit longer? Just want to put this here because there's a link to the reading list from our talk. So bit.ly/Hermetechnics reading list. We might also be adding to it a little bit later on, so please have a look. And there is our contact details, so feel free to talk to us. We will also email you the slides, so all the participants should get them by email after the talk. And we are looking forward to meeting you in other workshops and also in, seeing you around the Hermetechnics. If you're ever around in Mountain View, California, then come for a visit. And yeah, thank you so much. Have a lovely day.
You too. Bye.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Karin, and thank you, Jakub. Perfect. And I will ask our Zoom master to finish the live stream.